Live.
Okay, how's it going, everyone? Today, welcome to today's. I don't know how to speak English today. Clearly, welcome to
English.
today's BioDevils Podcast. Today we have an interview with Nick for IOU, and right now I'm joined by, of course, Nick, James, and Brendan, and soon maybe Renegade Operative is going to join us. He's going to jump in late, maybe. But that said, let's begin this interview. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about IOU and what inspired you to make this game?
Okay. Well, it started out as a joke for many months. I just kind of was throwing out between a few of my friends that, yeah, anyone could probably start a project like this and get somewhere with it. And that is true, but it's taken a lot of work, and we keep restarting. And just recently, back in August, we restarted with a completely new engine that we're going to start from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
It's looking good. But back to the question. It was like April 2012, Alpha Omega Sin. He made a video that pretty much like convinced me that I should do this. So
Good old Alpha.
yeah, I was like, okay, someone needs to do this. And there's other people doing this as well, but I think we're trying to do it like we're really trying to go for the not nostalgia, but when people see this game, they're gonna be like, yeah, I'm gonna play that. I think so. That's what keeps me going. Just but it's a lot of work, and we're a two-man team right now,
Mm-hmm.
so it's pretty slow going most days.
No, and before I let anybody else ask their question, I just out of curiosity, are you looking for more people to join in on the project?
Um, well, we have like a storyboard artist and a few other like voice actors on
Mm-hmm.
board to help us, but as far as programming and doing the artwork, I think we're fine where we are right now. Um, in an egotistical way, probably, but
Uh,
yeah. I have thought about bringing people on to finish a few rooms. If it comes to crunch time, I could find some people to help out. I think.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. I think we'll let Brandon ask his questions. Also, let's welcome in Renegade Operative. How's it going?
oh,
Hey
you?
man, I got in here late. Yeah.
It's okay. We just started, so you're not that late.
Okay, good. I was trying to finish up a project really quickly, but I'm
Mhm.
glad I'm able to make it.
Yep. You're pretty much good on time. We like literally just
We
started.
started
So.
like 2 minutes ago, so we're good.
Whew. All right, what a relief.
Huh? I'm
I
sorry, I
said,
didn't.
I said, what a relief. I thought I was
Yeah.
really ultra late.
Yeah. No, you're good. Um. So yeah, we'll let Brandon ask the next question.
Is it just anything that you're gonna reuse from the classic Resident Evil games in your game?
Um, the inventory will somewhat be the same, but like a little bit larger. The the inventories we've had so far are kind of like Diablo, It
Uh,
pops up, you can push escape and pop in and out real quick of it, and the fixed cameras, of course, were in the pre-renders is the main thing we're after to keep that the same. We've thought about having it like live, kind of like Resident Evil 5, the combat. When you push the inventory, the gameplay will keep going, and we've thought about keeping it like that for the game, so it's kind of be faster. We're thinking.
Also, it sounds like it's going to be kind of hectic because I remember in RA5 you cannot open the inventory near monsters. That's just a bad idea.
Yeah, and we want to definitely play around with putting more zombies on screen than you saw in like Resident Evil 2 and 3.
Hmm. So, I mean, if anyone else wants to go, I don't want to like go
I
ahead
got a
and.
question. I got a question actually.
Mhm.
What has been your inspiration when it comes to your approach of thinking about boss battles, for instance?
Okay, boss battles. Well, personally, I don't like boss battles anymore in video games. I mean,
That's
So-
interesting.
We're
That's
approaching
cool.
it. We want to have the boss battle be in there at all times almost. There's gonna be a few areas where like you go in that area, and you can be damn sure you're gonna fight a boss every time you go through there. But you can run away each time. I think that's the whole the goal is you never have to fight the boss. You can just run away.
That's an interesting approach. I don't think I ever asked. Maybe I have, and I just completely forgot. Are you looking at like Resident Evil 3 in terms of like having a pursuer, in that sort of sense of having a boss?
You could look at it that way. I don't know. 'Cause there'll be like just a few areas, and then there'll be like a boss room down in the underground
Mhm.
that you'll finally like face off with them. So
Okay.
we have thought about having the zombies be able to pursue you as well, though. So kind of everything's chasing you.
Yeah.
I got another question actually. What has been your approach to difficulty?
Okay, we have two difficulties in mind. And it'll be like Alien Isolation, where we recommend right away. It's like, here's the hard difficulty, play this, but you can also play the standard. And the hard difficulty, we're thinking, when you die, the file gets erased and you have to restart. So that'll be the mode you play afterwards, after you play it a few times. Then you go in that and you can speed run the hard mode, which will be like, I don't know, sounds pretty fun.
That's all.
Sounds
That's almost
terrifying.
like Dead Space insane mode almost. Well, where the one where you have like limited saves, like you have
it's like 3 saves. Mhm.
I-
Yeah.
I was gonna say it kind of reminds me of Eternal Darkness, where it like tells you, oh hey, we're gonna delete your save file if your insanity meter is like gone up to a certain point.
Oh yeah, Eternal Darkness. I almost forgot about that. That's like a mind screw.
Yeah. And I mean, even like the way that you described it, it almost sounds like a pseudo no save run where it's like, yeah, you can go through this entire game without saving, but just keep in mind that if you die, you start from the beginning.
Yeah.
Only the hardcore players may apply.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I go back and play the Resident Evils, I try to really challenge myself not to save.
I do that all the time.
Try to save maybe in the middle or like 3/4 of the way in you save. But yeah. It's
I
pretty
think
fun.
even Capcom is noticing that because there's like trophies where you get a trophy for like not saving throughout the entire game, not using any ink ribbons.
Yeah, or going through with knife only, or not using items, things of that nature, which is good if they're noticing that.
Yeah, I think nice little bonuses like that for hardcore players will keep them playing. So, if you're gonna include things like that, that should definitely be oversaw.
Mhm.
I guess I'll ask the next question. In terms of like the time setting and the location, where is this game taking place? When is it taking place? And can you like give us an idea of that sort of thing?
Yeah, sure. Okay, I think it's set in 2004. I think that's what we're settled on. Around October.
Resident Evil 4?
Halloween Madness.
Yeah. Even though most of my nature stuff is green, I probably have to change it to orange, but somewhere like in there. And the location is the northwest of the United States, along the Pacific coast, up in the forest. It takes place in a hot springs resort, and there's like this weekend gathering of all these motorhomes and RVs, so that then they all turn to zombies. So. Yeah. It's like a tourist attraction area, so you'll be fighting the zombies as tourists and
Quick question.
lifeguards and those kind of things.
Oh, quick question. Will the intro be like Resident Evil 3 by any chance?
The intro?
Yeah, the intro for your game. That'd be funny though, me personally.
The intro is similar to Resident Evil 2 and 3.
Oh yeah, everyone's getting attacked by zombies and they get absolutely wiped out.
Yep.
And Mr. Nemesis shows up with that rocket launcher.
Oh yeah.
I'm glad James brought that up. will you have any like Resident Evil 3 or 6 monsters that big buff guy or Nemesis chasing you around?
I believe the monster in 6 was referred to as Ustanex.
Yes, Usanex.
Yeah, you gotta hand it to Capcom. They still know how to make monsters, despite sometimes they screw up, but man, they still can make monsters. Really, I'm impressed by their monsters still.
Hmm.
I really like the one that was like a regenerator, but not really.
In
Like,
6?
yeah, in 6, and he could like detach his limbs to come after you, like his hands or whatever. I forgot the proper name of it because I always screw that up each time, but it's like a regenerator almost.
Ah, yeah. No, this is for gameplay. What will it be dedicated towards the classics, modern, or a mix between both?
It's gonna be classic for sure, but I want the game to reach a new audience, you know.
Hmm.
'Cause, I still think the old genre, can come back, and I think Capcom by 2020, I think Capcom's gonna do something with the old stuff. I think that's what it's all building towards. It looks like.
Oh yeah, I agree definitely with the whole like REHD. Now we got RE0 HD and also a Resident Evil 2 remake, which we don't even know if it's going to be in the classic style or the modern style. So it's definitely great to see more classic stuff resurface.
Mm-hmm.
I want to ask the next question. Now, how many characters are we going to be seeing within this game, and are they going to figure out anything, like anything that's caused this outbreak, so to speak?
Yeah, there is a mystery to unravel, of course.
Huh.
But originally you're gonna play as 2 characters, but then I was like, nah, just one character you're gonna play as.
Mm-hmm.
The other character is the monster that kind of pursues you, and you
Okay.
play as a girl like in her 20s named Emma, and she's in her pajamas most of the game. And but there'll be other side characters as well. You meet up in the lodge. There's some characters you can help out, and
Okay.
they're kind of generic, I think, but you can help them out. I don't know. We'll see where it goes.
So like a optional quest then?
Yeah,
I guess you could say.
yeah. They're just there to kind of point you in the right direction, of course, you know.
Okay.
I have a very good question to ask. Besides Resident Evil, what else has been your influence on this game besides that? Because other types of horror does exist, like Silent Hill was psychological, and then you have new types of horror where it's like Outlast. Have any of these games influenced you?
I've never really been much of a Silent Hill fan. I do think the second one is really, really awesome, but
Everyone does.
yeah.
Yeah.
The Shining, the movie from Stanley Kubrick, that's actually
that's
a pretty
great.
big inspiration. I watch that like a lot, just for fun. I'll put it on in the background. Because it has a lodge and the location's pretty similar.
Here's Johnny.
Yeah, and they have
How can you not love that scene? It's a great scene.
It's
Wendy, give me the bats.
Okay, well, here's another gameplay question.
And,
Are you-
inspiration, one more thing. Actually, I've put some little tie-ins to the Resident Evil movie, the first one.
Oh,
the,
really?
The live-action one, not the CG one. The terrible live-action ones. But there's a few things I really like about that movie, and I kind of put that into the game. I won't spoil it right now.
We're gonna have Alex doing some jump kicks to some dogs.
No, it's just like scenario location-wise.
I know Capcom actually has retconned the lasers into the lore from that movie into.
I guess they must have really liked that section of the movie, and I
Yeah.
thought it was kind of cool too.
I don't blame them. I actually really thought that room itself kind of looked cool. So
Yeah,
it'd be
like
interesting to
Leon
see some
and
set pieces.
Leon, Chris, and Jill been through the laser room before.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
guys saw the old Alice, right?
Yeah. Correct.
I like.
I don't know how I feel about that, to be honest.
Exactly. I was like, okay, what?
It's like she's aging now. That's kind of weird. But then again, I was thinking like Alice does have multiple clones anyway, so it could be something like that.
Yeah. Right.
I wanted to laugh, but then I feel like not yet.
Let's just wait and see what happens.
Renegade, I think you asked the last question, so I guess I'll go unless if Brandon wants to.
Yeah,
ask
I want to
something.
go.
Oh, okay.
As back to gameplay. Are you gonna have like the Resident Evil crafting system, Resident Evil 3? Or you make your own ammunition?
Crafting. It'll be the crafting is really like Resident Evil 2, where it's just A and B combining and stuff.
Oh, so simplistic stuff then.
Yeah, we have. Yeah, there might be multiple types of handgun ammo and shotgun.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's all I can.
That's pretty
That's
good.
not what I mean.
Yeah, like a special class of those. But yeah.
Because Resident Evil 3 had like Don, what's the ammunition called? We make a certain amount of set ammo.
Gunpowder?
Enhanced ammo. So like to kind of explain it to those viewers that don't understand how it works in Resident Evil 3, you'd get 3 different types of gunpowders. You get A, B, and C. And after a certain amount of times through going through crafting, if you just use a standard A, for example, like I believe it's 8 times, you'll start crafting enhanced ammo, which gives you more firepower and does more damage in turn. So in that sense, that's how the various different rounds work. Of course, then you got the grenade launcher with like, oh, here's freeze rounds, here's poison rounds, here's this and that
acid.
round.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, something like that. Everything down listening. Would anything like that be in your IOU?
Yeah. We want to keep the weapons really basic, like grenade launcher, handgun, shotgun. We don't want to go too broad or like too wide open with the selection. Like I thought MGS4 had too many guns, you know?
What? No God beam?
What's that?
No God beam?
No. Yeah, I don't want to like put a rocket launcher in the game and have it infinite. I think that kind of ruins it on replay value.
That's kind of the beauty, honestly. Just blowing people up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
That
think like
actually,
incentives afterwards with the weapons would be kind of nice,
Okay.
like infinite ammo, stuff like that. But after you beat the game or get awards or things like that.
New Game Plus is like something that I want to do where it carries over your ammo.
Oh
game.
yeah, that'd be perfect.
Because this game, once you know.
that actually.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go
Okay, I was just gonna say the game. Once you know the game, this is like gonna be like maybe a 45-minute game. Like it's gonna be quick. So, ammo is not gonna really be that important. You know, it's more about getting to those special rooms and clearing the area out. Yeah.
That's a fast one.
In regards to unlocks, actually, because you were talking about like the different types of weapons, are there going to be any like special weapons you can unlock for New Game Plus?
I'm not sure about that one, honestly. We could like mess around with like putting the weapons in a different location on the next time around or something. I want to put a random item. You know, in Resident Evil, you're just like running around pressing X. You know, you're just like running along the edge of the map, pressing X, 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 X. We want to play around with that, having like a random item dropper for tiny items like maybe handgun ammos and health items you can randomly find that way, and that'll be different every time you play. That kind of stuff. Yeah.
Oh, I got a great question actually. Well, for replay value, I know that most of the old Resident Evil games had a lot of backtracking. Are you cutting down or avoiding that, or are you going to open up new areas to explore?
Oh yeah, backtracking that's what I meant. The game, like, once you know the game, it'll be short, but we really want to play around that first time you play the game, it might take you like 6 hours, we're hoping, so there'll be a lot of backtracking on the first time around.
Okay.
That's actually something, one of the inspirations is we're so used to playing these games, you know how good we are at these games by now. Like what will it be like playing Resident Evil 2 Remake again for the first time, you know? it's gonna be like playing it for the first time again. You won't
Yeah.
know what to do. That's when you play these games like Resident Evil 1. We know where everything is almost, but we have it down to a science. What happens when you restart from, that's the whole allure of a new game.
No,
Yeah.
to like pick up off that, will it be like different item placements just to switch things up? I think like in Resident Evil 2 did it, where it's different scenarios.
Yeah, of course.
That's
Yeah, well, and to piggyback off of that as well, with like the Resident Evil remake, they had a lot of old areas to go back into. You say, oh, this really looks familiar, it's just updated. But then they start putting in a lot of new things that really throw you off. So you really don't know to expect when it comes to these new areas. That's what I think what made that game really, really great.
Hmm.
Is because you knew what kind to expect, but at the same time, you kind of expected the unexpected with the new stuff that they put in the game.
And those scary moments come to those places you've already been before, and then it comes out at you.
I love how they trick you with the dog window where you think he's going to jump through, but he does it the first time around. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
That makes me want to. Or sorry, I mean to. I'm sorry, I just got a phone call by accident, but I was going to ask. In terms of like randomization, Resident Evil 3 had a random enemy placement where like, sometimes you'll see an area flooded with zombies, but then the next moment, or the next time around, it's just a bunch of hunters in that said room. So is there going to be something like that in IOU?
Yeah, I did like that in Resident Evil 3. Like, there's NPC moments too where you can set up differently depending on which way you go, and that's something we definitely want to do that where it's tracking what you do even though you don't know it, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I got nothing right now. It's coming back to me. Sorry.
I got a question actually. I don't think it was asked, but what has been your approach when it comes to like weapons and things of that nature to fight and defend yourself against these creatures? Like, do you have your conventional handguns, or are you looking for something just a little more unconventional that's usually not in a game like this, like grenades and things of that nature?
Okay, yeah. Within a few minutes of the game, you'll find a handgun, of course. But one unconventional item would be the weed whacker. You know what those are? That gardening tool, you
Oh,
grab it
yeah.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be a weapon in the game. It'll be more of like a defense weapon. But the programmer was actually like, no, it needs to be gory, so we might make it a really strong weapon or something.
Okay, to pick it back off the Weed Whacker, will it be like Friday the 13th? We cut zombies' intestines.
Yeah. That's what the programmer, he was like, it needs to chop them up into pieces. So there might be you might need to like find some blade and then put gasoline inside of it, and then you'll be good to go for a while.
Okay.
To piggyback off of that as well, will there be other makeshift weapons that you'll need to do something special in order to get it to work?
Oh yeah, another thing. Will it be like Dead Rising style makeshift? You could just make different types of weapons, defensive weapons or anything.
Nothing too random. Like you won't be able to just like craft. There's not gonna be like 50 crafting things or anything like that. But like we want to keep it simple because it will be a short game. And if this game succeeds, we can make a much larger. The storyline can continue the way I've set it up. This will be like the not an alpha beta, but a proving ground to show people what we can do with it. So.
No, that actually reminds me. As far as like melee weapons go, like of course you have your basic knife and things of that nature from previous games, previous Resident Evil games. Are we gonna see anything outside of that, like maybe like an axe or I don't know, maybe like a crazy weapon like a weed whacker, of course, like you mentioned.
A boulder.
Oh my god. And the character in the game has to punch boulders too, like Chris Redfield.
Mm-hmm.
There will be one. I'm not going to spoil it, but there is a kind of a crazy weapon towards the end we might add in there, kind of a fantasy, and it'll be really strong. But
Is it a Final Fantasy?
I'd say it falls more into Metal Gear, if anything.
Okay.
Oh, that'd be awesome. I get to
And-
kill someone with a chaff grenade.
Or a box.
A box.
As kind of looking at like some other survival horror games, are we going to be able to like go into like hiding places if we are being pursued, like say a locker, or I think Clock Tower on PlayStation 1 did this, where you can hide into a cardboard box.
Atlas is. You can hide in lockers or under beds.
Well, the world file I'm working on has like around 30 bathrooms I've counted so far, and that's one thing we joke about internally is how little bathrooms there are in Resident Evil games. So we've made sure to actually be authentic with bathrooms. And recently I was like, okay, we have all these bathrooms, so that should be how you save the game is in these bathrooms. So the bathroom is the save room, and we're not gonna. The item chests are in the game, but they're much more spread out and they don't link together. So that adds another.
I say your game would be more authentic than Resident Evil because Resident Evil 2, there is no bathrooms in the police precinct.
No, there's
No.
not.
Yeah.
There is Resident Evil 3.
Wesker is a bad mofo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a hold it in for the entire mission.
Hold it in, soldier.
Gotta pee up on the wall. That's
got
what you
a
gotta
question.
do when you're in the police station.
I got a good question.
Go for it.
What has been your philosophy on like secrets in video games, like discovering things that the players might not be able to see at first or get their hands on? Will you have anything like that in your game as well?
Yeah, we want to put all kinds of stuff like that into the game. I do have a long list of that stuff already, but most of that is going to come into being when we playtest it, I think.
Mhm.
We're not towards that playtesting. We were so close to playtesting, but then the programmer's like, I quit with the Unity engine. I'm going to go back to doing my own software, and so far it's looking good. We
You
don't really
rage
have
quit.
Yeah, Unity is much better if you know what you're doing and you have like a 10-man team. But we're starting out, so
Right.
and this is better because now if he writes his own software, he owns that. We don't gotta answer it to anyone, you know. So I think it'll work out better.
Yeah, true.
Okay,
If I'm not mistaken, you actually have to pay a fee for Unity, unlike Unreal 4, and then you also have to pay a certain percentage. If that's how it goes, I think that's how it worked.
I think the percentages was reasonable. Just recently they went free, so you can do pretty much anything now with the engine
really?
for free. Yeah, but if you make a game, you are gonna have to pay for it.
Oh, of course,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah.
Nice.
I have a question. Would there be any enemy augmentations, like Crimson Heads or a level 2 set liquor, if you have a type of enemy like that?
Yeah, we want to have some type of Crimson Head, kind of like a zombie A, B, and C. Like one zombie will be an acid zombie permanently, and one zombie might run faster than the other ones, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that'll be random every time. The level has, say you enter a room, there's a chance for 5 zombies. Each one of those will be a chance of something else, you know.
Oh, I got a great question actually. Since we're speaking of a lot of survival horror and a lot of Resident Evil influences, what Resident Evil had besides the zombies, they had traps. So, will you be introducing those throughout the game where something could like critically harm or hurt the player if they do something wrong?
Like a boulder?
Yeah, like a boulder or like there was that trap in Resident Evil Remake where if you took the key and you didn't have the imitation key, a blaze will come along the wall and kill you if you don't put it back in.
Yeah, there's a few moments I can think of like that.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool for your game. I think that'd be awesome.
I actually have a video you guys can look at. I put it. There's some new artwork.
Oh,
Awesome.
nice. We'll definitely link that later into the description.
All right. Make sure to mute the video.
And yeah, we'll definitely take a look at it as soon as we possibly can. I'll take a look at it after the
Okay.
this
No
whole
big deal.
interview is done.
Then, I have another question. This is for the health system, actually. Would it be similar to Resident Evil? If not, you're going to do more expanding upon it. You
Yeah.
get poison or bleeding or anything like that.
Yeah,
Well,
the health. Okay. Yeah, we've completely reworked the health system. It's gonna think of it as like 100%. You start the game with a bunch of health, and you get hit by a zombie, and you get poisoned. Your health stays 100%, but your poison bar starts draining, and then once you get to a certain percent with the poison, of course your main health starts draining, and the whole point is to get down into the laboratory, and then you can stop this whole poison fiasco, and then from there there's like a 10 to 15 more minutes more of the game, and then you can beat the game.
will it be set items so you can remove it instead of just backtracking to a set location?
Yeah, you have to like concoct something down in the lab to save yourself.
Now, will it be in form of like syringe or weed like in Resident Evil?
Yeah, we're definitely having weed in the game. That is for sure.
Well, first aid spray. Air freshener?
Air freshener.
Legalize marijuana.
And I want to put a bunch of. I want to have. Actually, yeah, the Dead Rising example might actually work because in Dead Rising you can pick up like anything almost.
Yeah, like food.
Bees.
You can like pick up stuff you're never gonna need it. That's what I kind of want to put in IOU. You can pick up nearly everything and fill your inventory up, and then you have to drop stuff and figure out what you actually really need as you go along. Like you might find this wrench. A wrench is very useful in a game like this, but it might not actually be anything in the game.
And just chuck it at an enemy and call it a day.
Yeah.
No, I want to backtrack to some of like the mutations or whatever that you were talking about earlier. Like we were asking about like Crimson Head type enemies. In that sense, is there going to be a way to prevent them from turning into one of said 5 forms that you were bringing up? Or
Like
multiple
their
forms?
bodies.
Yeah, I think it'd be like just a random chance. Every time you enter a room, you'd encounter, a 3% chance you'd fight the strongest zombie.
Will we have hunters?
We have. I'm thinking about making these. What are they called? Oh, those mantises, praying mantises.
Oh, you're talking about the chimeras?
Yeah, they're kind of like chimeras. Yeah, the praying mantis is a weird creature, and I think if you'd made that thing like 6 feet tall, it's
They're like
pretty scary.
ninjas.
Yeah, and
They're-
they can camouflage. So that's one. I kind of think that's our liquor. I don't know, not to compare it, but
That actually reminds me, I believe it was the Sega Saturn version of the original Resident Evil, there was an exclusive bug enemy that was literally just a copy and paste of the Hunter. It was called the Tick. And do you think it would work in that sort of sense, or is it going to be more or less unique and different in that sense?
I don't know. I'm not sure. Definitely camouflaged some kind of alien type creature that they were experimenting on and it went wrong.
Okay. If Renegade or Brandon want to go next.
I pass right now.
I'm trying to think of a really good one.
Or James, if James is back, I don't know.
No, he's still MIA.
Oh, he is. Sad face.
Just for shits and gigs, will there be multi-tier boulders you can punch?
This boulder thing.
I have had some moments where you like cross a river. I'm not sure if I'm gonna put it in the game. I'm not sure how that equals to a boulder, but there are moments where you might be able to fall off the map. That's kind of new for Resident Evil, I think. You can't really ever just fall off a ledge in Resident Evil.
Or Metal Gear Solid 3 you can, if you're just not careful.
Yeah, that's more realistic than just, oh, I'm going to walk near this crushed banister or railing and I'm not going to fall off.
Yeah,
Or
in
pick up
last,
wires that's electrified.
I thought that was kind of stupid in Last of Us. You can't ever fall off stuff in Last of Us. It's all very safe for you to walk around.
Hmm.
Now,
Go ahead.
do you want to go first or?
Yeah, you can go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, okay. Now, in terms of like puzzles, are we going to be seeing them at all, or if we are seeing them, are they going to be more like Silent Hill or Resident Evil style Silent
Or we
like
have a music box as well.
puzzles? Yeah, like, are we going to be seeing like those types of puzzles, or is this going to be something taking inspiration from like multiple different survival horror games?
There's definitely box puzzles I have in mind, but those are optional. Any puzzle in the game, if it's in there, I want it to be fun to play each time, because that's one thing. When you go back to play Resident Evil, sometimes you're like, oh, this puzzle, okay, just got to get this over with, you know. I want it to be more fun, and there won't be that many puzzles, I think. Maybe just a few really, really challenging ones for the people that like want to rack their brain, you know. Yeah. I think Fez did that pretty well. I didn't play Fez, but I heard Fez has a pretty awesome like side quest thing in there.
Yeah, if Renegade, if you want to go now.
Yeah, of course. I wanted to ask a very important question. If people wanted to give fan feedback, if you will you be posting anything regarding to that, or will you have something that you could draft ideas from if fans wanted to give you their feedback?
Yeah, I've definitely listened to people carefully, so I'd be glad to listen to anyone.
Okay.
One thing,
Okay.
Alpha Omega Sin wanted a bathroom that has a giant lock on it that you have to just to take a piss, you have to unlock a door to go to the Yeah. That's very.
great.
You got to go run around and find a key just to go take a piss. So.
That's perfect.
I have a question. This is probably gonna be a long one. Oh, James Beck. Will it be like a pseudo co-op thing, like in Resident Evil, sort of like in Resident Evil 2, sort of in Resident Evil 3, and Resident Evil 4 and 5 had it, and 6 also. Like, will they be like a partner with you at all times, or like some portion of the game, just like for backup or help you pick up items? I guess you could also use the Resident Evil 0 system.
For the sequel that we make, I definitely want to put co-op into it. That's something I think that could actually work in a Resident Evil 0 style, but actually two-player.
Mhm.
But IOU, the one we're making right now, I call it IOU Forest or IOU 1. I want it to be really isolated. There's characters you talk to, but you're not around characters that often in this game.
Okay, and also this won't be evolved around the scenarios. If you do scenario A, will it affect scenario B? And if you have like a scenario C, will it do the same thing? Because in Resident Evil 2, if you take a set item in the police station armory, it will not. It will affect scenario B. Or if you do an action like close the blast shields, it will show it in scenario B.
There are things like that contained in the single playthrough, but we haven't done anything to carry it over yet like that. There are like gates you can shut early on that will help you on later on in the game.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of stuff.
Okay. So there's no other playable characters besides the one you have set right now?
Yeah, just the Emma character.
Okay.
I actually had two questions. Question number one is that you said that Alpha Omega Sin talked about your game. Is there a link for that, and could you put that in the chat? And question number two is, are you going to put things like Easter eggs, like things possibly relating to other games or possible cool features into your game?
Well, Alpha hasn't talked about our game yet, but I'm sure he will at some point.
Mm-hmm.
But he was just talking about, it was actually Evil Within when they announced it. Was it like Project Zoe or whatever it's called?
Oh
Why?
yeah, back in the production stages.
Yeah, that's what Alpha was talking about, because that was when like survival horror is coming back,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
I think it has come back. It's coming back.
Yeah, slowly but surely.
Yeah,
hmm
and
Got some
Easter
kinks
eggs.
to work out, but it's coming back.
Yeah, if we kick it into motion hard enough.
I got
Definitely.
another question.
Yeah.
Will it be a pseudo Ashley in IOU?
I think no one wants that. Oh my god.
No, please, no.
No, actually.
Please,
Um,
no.
There is another female character you meet, but I won't say anything else than that.
Is she Jill?
No, she's. If I could compare it to anyone in the RE universe, it'd be Ada, of course.
Not complaining.
Yeah, but yeah. 'cause,
Gotta give me that
Ada's
Jill.
my favorite character.
in order for Emma to heal herself down in the laboratory, she needs, some expertise. She has no idea what all that stuff does down there.
T.
So,
Tea
yeah.
and weed?
Dom, that's you.
Exactly. Anyways, you were saying, Nick?
Yeah, there will be an important character you meet down in the lab to help you out. But
Is she hot?
Yeah.
Oh my god, Brandon.
You would ask that question.
I'm sorry, I couldn't help it.
Gotta love those pixels.
That's actually I have 6 storyboards for pre-rendered cutscenes, and that is a huge project in itself. So I have no idea how we're gonna go about doing that. I've actually thought about releasing them afterwards, just to YouTube, to have the cutscenes on YouTube. If I'm not gonna hold the game backwards, I'm not gonna hold the game back just because the cutscenes aren't ready. If the game is ready, I'm gonna release the game and then put the cutscenes in later. If that's what it comes to, I'm not gonna wait.
As a beta, then maybe,
Yeah.
just to have people try it out.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry to cut you off, but in that regard, like, do you mean like enough of the cutscene to where it's not spoiling the story, or like just the entire scene in what you have?
Yeah, if the version 1, I think the focus would to have the final cutscene in there. 'Cause that would be the most important one to have in there.
hmm
And then we could work backwards from there. We've actually thought about making it like 2D graphic style instead of actual full 3D rendering. But I have a storyboard artist, and I talk to him every now and then, so we're still working it out.
In regards to story, I'm sorry, I'm blanking out. In regards to story, are we going to have like a choice-based system like in Resident Evil 3, or is it going to be more linear like Resident Evil 1 and 2?
Yeah, definitely linear. It's just so much work. Linear makes it easier. Yeah. And
I have an interesting question.
Okay.
What has been your thoughts on how survival horror sort of had this dead progression when it had a high point and then it really had a lot of survival horror games stop coming out like in the middle of the 7th generation? And how do you feel with survival horror coming back and its place in modern gaming?
I'm really glad. I've been in many arguments on the internet about this topic. And that's kind of how I got into it. I was like, okay, I'm going to stop arguing about this shit, Someone needs to do something. That's kind of how I got to this.
Yeah, that's the main thing. I think that a lot of developers seem to have been losing the focus of what makes a survival horror game. Like, I'm not going to lie, with Resident Evil 4, 5, and 6, they really shifted from horror to action because they really needed to change and spicing the series up, and I get that, but they sort of lost what made the series scary. And I think that going back to roots wouldn't be a bad thing necessarily, because I think that Dead Space was a nice blend of the first one. Dead Space was a nice blend of action and horror, and it was also modern and conventional at the same time.
I like to add Revelations 1 and 2 to that list. Like, they feel like a good mix between classic and modern.
Yeah, that's always good. Yeah.
I feel like Resident Evil 4 really came out and impressed everyone, but then games like Dead Space and Gears of War really stole the crown. I feel like, and now RE can't even keep up. I feel like.
Nope.
I think part of the problem with that though is that Capcom tried to make it like, oh, let's try to make it more like Gears, let's try to make it more like Call of Duty, let's try to make it more like SOCOM, and it's like every single time they failed. And then you look at the Revelation series where it tries to do a mix of both, where it takes that style of gameplay but puts it in a pseudo survival horror scenario and makes it work for the best. I mean, even a game like The Evil Within, which is, in my opinion, 2000 for my game of the year 2014, that was a great game. Though, in my opinion, it does have some issues with how it handles its horror. But
I think it's psychological horror, personally.
Mm-hmm. But outside of that, it's games like that. It tries too hard to mimic those rather than be more like Revelations and Evil Within.
How long was Evil Within?
My first playthrough took me about, I want to say, like 16 hours, and then afterwards it's about a 4-hour playthrough if you speed through it and skip all the cutscenes.
Yeah, it's about like, I think my first playthrough was like 14 hours. It was sort of like Resident Evil 4 length, but sort of not really, because Resident Evil 4 had those extra hours padded on if you really didn't know what you were doing. So Evil Within sort of felt like the same.
Yeah, I didn't get that far into Evil Within.
Here's my question to piggyback back to scenarios. I know you say that you didn't want to do like multiple choice, but by some chance you do add that in your linear style of gameplay. Will it be like in Resident Evil 3, where if you go to one location, like I'm gonna use where you meet Carlos for example.
Mm-hmm.
If you choose to go to the newspaper place, I think that's what it's called. You'll meet Carlos there first, unconscious, and you see Nemesis walking the hallway, and he gets blown up. Or you could go to the restaurant, and you meet Carlos there. When you pry open the latch, and then Nemesis come in, and he gets blown up there too. So will it be like that? Well, if you go one spot or another, that will trigger that set event, and then up to you to go to that other location where you could meet that particular character first and get whatever item you need.
Yeah, okay. There is stuff like that. There's a bridge in the game, and when you cross that bridge, you can go left or right. Left takes you to the lodge, and right takes you to a hotel. And depending on which one of those locations you visit, there's people to save in the lodge. So if you visit the hotel first, those people are going to be dead when you go there.
Oh.
So the information they have, you won't be able to talk to them.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
And 2 huge locations I've added at the end of last year and all this year was a hotel and the laboratory are much bigger than I originally planned for, and it's kind of spiraled into this gigantic area that I really like where it's going.
I'll ask the next question. In regards to like any other anything else that was like inspired by Resident Evil directly from Capcom, like Onimusha and Dino Crisis, are you taking anything from those games and putting that into IOU?
Mostly just Alone in the Dark and Resident Evil. I think. I think that's what people really are wishing for at this point.
Okay.
At least that's what I want to play. I was never what's the is it Dino Crisis? Is that the other one?
Yeah, Dino Crisis.
Yeah. I never played that, but Resident Evil, I've been playing that game since I was like 11, so it's always been a part of my life. I can remember like going to my friend's house down the street, and we'd actually have to hide and play the game. It was like his dad's or his uncle's copy, so we'd have to like sneak and play it, and we'd get caught and have to turn it off. It sucked. I just have this memory of Leon in the lab limping along, and I thought this game was like the most amazing thing I'd ever seen. And it's really fun to go back and play.
Yeah, I frequently play 2 and 3.
Yep. If anyone else wants to go ask the next question.
James, you got any questions?
No, you guys kind of stole all of mine.
Are you gonna help me out with the fan questions then? we got?
Where are they? Because the comments are
Um,
disabled
we're
on
just
the stream for
we're
some
just
reason.
rewording the road fever questions. I don't know why Google like disables comments. I've tried fixing it, so I don't know why it does that for the live streams for this, but yeah, I'll just post them in the chat, and then you can just help me out with those.
Sure.
But I mean, unless if Renegade has something, then I'll just go next and ask them next
I'm
question.
still trying to think of some, so just give me a little bit.
Mhm.
Yeah, same here.
I guess I can ask, like, we've seen like some of these other survival horror games that are either first person or the over the shoulder third person style. Um, what made you? What inspired you to do like the classic style? Like, what was like the firm like a firm reason as to why you had to do it in that particular style over some of these more modern styles?
I saw it as like a huge learning opportunity because I knew nothing back in 2011, and the stuff I know now.
Mm.
Not only can I make the cartoon I wanted to make originally back in like 2009, but now I can make video games, all this video game artwork and stuff. So it was just a really easy way to approach. You set a camera and you have objects, and you have multiple cameras, and it's really easy to get an environment going in just a few days.
Right.
Oh, I have a question now. Will we have a merchant in IOU?
Oh, a merchant. Originally, yes, there was a shop you could visit to buy handgun ammo. Actually, there was a daylight area, and that was going to be the shop. It was going to be before the outbreak.
Oh, so would this game have a day and night cycle?
It was originally going to be a day and then a night, but now I've cut the merchant out, and it's just a night setting now.
Okay. I thought you were gonna pull Resident Evil 4 on us, have those things pop out on the zombies' head.
Yeah, I wanted to have a merchant, and then Jesse, he's like a character artist, not the storyboard guy, but he was like, no, I don't think we should have a merchant, and I was like, no, we should, and then eventually I agreed with him, and I removed it.
No, now that I've said that though, this give me a little idea. Is it possible, will you like when you enter the laboratory area, since potentially this could since it's the origin of all the outbreak happened in IOU, could you like possibly fight more sinister, more gruesome looking monsters, and why not have like maybe parasites or something pop out creatures there or something like that?
Yeah, the programmer, he thought about parasites early on. But yeah, the laboratory level of the game, we definitely want to throw some surprises at the player in terms of monsters.
Mhm.
The laboratory in the game is like a subsidiary, or is that the word? I don't know. It's like a smaller version of a much bigger lab, kind of just like in Resident Evil 1. There's the Spencer lab and then this lab in the city. It's pretty much like that. So.
Okay.
Would it be a water puzzle?
Water puzzle.
There is a pool you will drain in the game.
No, like the bathtub. Sweet.
Yeah.
Renegade, if you want to go next.
I'm still thinking of some good ones. I kind of think I got one though. How has everything been in terms of performance? Are you looking for things like 60 FPS, or are you looking for things like cutting edge graphics? What has been your take on it? I know you said that you might want to do it in 2D, but what has been your take on performance in general?
Well, I'm very fortunate to work with a programmer who's all about the performance stuff. So we're after that. We want the game to boot up fast. We want it to work right.
Work on all platforms easily.
Yeah, we're gonna start with Linux and Windows. If it's popular, we can put it on consoles eventually. But PCs right now are our goal, of course. That's the easiest at starting out, I think.
Mm-hmm.
That was actually one of the questions we were going to ask earlier, but I guess since this is sort of a fan question, someone was asking if it would be running at 60 frames per second and if 4K was going to be a possibility. And I guess that is sort of alluding to that question in that regard.
Yeah, the game's not going to be really visually demanding. We want it to play like a PS1 game, so
Mhm.
it's going to have moderate graphics. If you look in that video I posted, you can get an idea of how the backgrounds will look.
Yeah.
It's a very patchy looking visual style. It's noisy. It's kind of fuzzy looking.
Mhm.
Yeah.
This is where that kind of reminds me. Will we have like free controls and tank controls? Because I know in Resident Evil Remake HD, you have the option to like move around freely with the analog stick and use the D-pad for tank controls.
Yeah, we're gonna keep the tank controls most likely.
Yeah.
And
God,
we
I personally prefer free controls.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I haven't really even tried that out in the remake yet. Just because
Yeah.
I've played that game like 50 times. I'm so stubborn. I'm not gonna try to relearn the mapping of a new control scheme.
Same here. I'm too much akin to the classic controls because those are the ones I am familiar with the most, considering all the Resident Evil games had similar control schemes to each other before they went to Resident Evil 5.
Yeah, personally, I don't get why they put that in the game, but if they're trying to appeal to everyone, so.
Yeah, it's nice to have an option, like have both on the controller.
Exactly. Options are important. I wish more game companies would put options in there.
To begin with, I must say I really don't like their alternate control schemes. I just don't like when things are regulated to the triggers and it has to do with like movement and everything. It just feels kind of wonky.
Triggers to shoot personally, they feel awkward.
I recently played the remake and I was playing with the tank controls in the final battle on the heliport. It was perfect. I did it perfectly. Like, there's nothing wrong with the tank controls if you know what you're doing.
Yeah, I can use them just fine though, but it's just preference wise, I just rather take the free controls with the stick.
That in terms of controls, I'd like to ask: are we going to be able to customize the control layout drastically? Like, I guess a good example of this would be like the Devil May Cry series. They allow you to basically change up any button layout to your heart's content.
Yeah.
Most recently for Special Edition.
And most of my games that I make, I'm gonna have a screen that recommends a controller, a modern 2-stick controller to play with.
Right.
So, but you will be able to play with the keyboard, and you can map anything that you want. So.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. If anyone else wants to ask anything before we move on to the fan questions in a bit.
Do you have them, by the way?
Yeah. I'll pull them up in a second, James.
I kind of think I got one. It's about the perception of like gore in the game. I know you said you really wanted it to be gory, but a lot of people say that in horror sometimes that the gore can kind of overdo it, and the real fear about horror is the things that are unseen. What is your approach to this philosophy, and will there be something that will absolutely terrify us out of nowhere as opposed to seeing full-on violence? Will there be some psychological elements here or there?
Oh no, can I piggyback off that for a second? Will they
Go
have an option to like have a set amount of gore, like you want low, medium, high, or extreme amount of gore?
No, there won't be an option for gore. The game will be dark. People have said my backgrounds are like, I can't even see what I'm looking at, and that's kind of the point. So violence isn't the goal. Like the boss battle, you're most likely gonna run away from the boss. You're not gonna face him off until you have like the magnum and grenade launcher. So
Like Nemesis, for example?
yeah, we call him Stew Monster.
Monster.
Yeah, that's his name. And he's basically like the main inspiration for him is of course Birkin. I think Form 2 of Birkin, where he's you can still see the human form of Birkin along with the monster. We think that design is just fantastic.
That's before his head melts into his chest, right?
Yeah.
I think that's Form 3. Okay, I was
Okay.
confused on that.
I like his final form where he's like a not the dog form, but
His final
he's
form is like he's a giant blob, I think.
oh not that form. I mean like the one
The
that
one
he's
where-
completely transformed. Yeah, that's my favorite design of him.
Oh,
Okay,
I think that's Form 3.
or 4.
Or the one where he's a dog, that's Form 4.
Okay.
I'm
Okay,
just
2, like go back to you said about environments being too dark. I think that well, I know you try to aim for it, but that could potentially be a problem considering that a lot of us here seen the Resident Evil 2 fan made remake, and a lot of people complain about it being too dark that you legitimately can't see nothing. That could potentially prove a problem for some players, where the point they would actually quit the game altogether.
Well, to be
Well,
fair, I think as long as you have a flashlight, it'll be
Yeah.
fine. Because we've seen dark environments before, like in Outlast.
Yeah, I was about to bring that up. Like, we had something that would help you navigate a little easier, like as an optional item or a mandatory item.
Well, if you think back to Resident Evil 1, a lot of people didn't finish that game.
That's
So,
just scary.
yeah, I like my little brother. He never finished a Resident Evil, even though he, you know. So the game is gonna be tough. That's one thing. So, but
Yeah, I'm probably being tough, but just for the sake of it, you don't want people quitting because of something like it's too dark or the puzzle's too hard or anything stupid like that.
yeah, but there'll be a variance. Some rooms are gonna be dark, and then you'll go into another room and it'll be super bright. And you know, I want each area to have a different feel to it as you go through.
Hmm
to kind of piggyback off of that. With that particular fan game, prior to them joining Capcom, part of the issue was that it wasn't that the fact that it was dark and you couldn't it was too dark. Like it'd be okay if it was dark, in my opinion. Is that going to be like a certain? I'm sorry. Let me reiterate that question or reword that. With that fan remake, it was too dark to the point where it was really hard to see. Is it going to be dark like that, or is it going to be more like you can still kind of make out what you're looking at, and it's not going to be like too dark to the point where you do need a flashlight, or is it going to be like that fan game?
All right.
There's
Well,
no plan for a flashlight.
okay, just a little piggyback off that. It wouldn't be anything silly like you clearly see the item, but the character is too dark, you can't see it. It won't be that silly, will it?
No, it won't be like I'm messing with. You know, did anyone play Alien Isolation?
I
haven't.
played a
I want
little
to.
bit, but I didn't get really far.
Okay, I think that game handled the dark grays very well. Even though that game kind of sucked, but I thought it did some things really well.
Isolation is not my cup of tea. No, there are a lot of problems with that game.
Yeah, I got it gifted, so I didn't have the chance to play it all the way yet.
I thought the crafting in a lot of areas of the game were bad. But
Plus, it's kind of slow. Like when she reloads a gun, she's taking 6 years to do it.
yeah, the movement was amazing though. Like crouching and sneaking around, that felt spot on for a first-person horror game.
Yeah.
To piggyback off of that, speaking of Alien Isolation, there was the alien where he was unkillable. Will you have an enemy that you cannot harm or damage like at first until you get the weapons to do so? I know you said that you can run away from bosses, but will there be an enemy like that throughout the entire game, or will there be enemies like that until you just get a special weapon?
Yeah, like about 20 minutes in for the average player, you meet Stu Monster, and then from there on, he can show up out in the field, and he's pretty much unkillable because he'll be part of the storyline in the next part of the game that you escape. The whole point of the game is really like speedrunner friendly because you're just trying to escape. You're like looking for car keys the whole game, and you finally find a car key and then you escape, and Stu Monster's still chasing you as you escape.
It'd be funny to one in a car, like Jurassic Park.
Yeah, Jurassic Park, exactly.
I just want to ask one more question before we move on to the fan questions that I have posted in here and reworded. So you were talking about how you want to like focus on a more like 2D style as well as like make it more akin to the PlayStation 1. What inspired that particular art style, and is there any particular medium, like whether it be a game, movie, or comic book or whatever, that really inspired you to take that direction?
Well, I think the models are going to be 3D, the character models, but we've toyed around with 2D as well, because that'd be much easier to render and scale and rotate. But I'm a big fan of the PlayStation 1 models where the elbows are like sticking through each other, you know, and you can like you can see like it glitching out. That's what I kind of want to go for. Because I can make those characters in 10-15 minutes, texture it maybe in about that time as well, and stick it in the game. It's a very quick turnaround process to make those kind of things.
Oh, Don, can I ask this one last question, my final one?
Yeah,
Will there
sure.
be any costumes, like really good costumes, like, I don't know, something range from something really ridiculous over the top to something like, I don't know, sexy or anything like that? Will it be something like those type of costumes or special costumes?
I think at one point you might put on like a hazmat suit, so, and
Walk around like Hank?
yeah, but the costume that you start out in is like pajamas because you're sleeping and you get woken up and you start running. But yeah, costumes, we could easily put different types of skins in there to unlock.
Yeah.
Mobster Leon.
Mobster Leon, Rock and Roll Chris, Pirate Jill.
Okay, so we got the fan questions up, so I'll let James ask the first three then, I guess. If he hasn't asked anything. They're all in the chat, James.
I got him. The first question is, will it be eerie like Silent Hill, action-oriented, or like Clock Tower meets Resident Evil?
Yeah, I want to go eerie ambiguity route, where, yeah, it's got a foggy night, you know, that kind of thing.
Will there be a playable demo?
Yeah, I definitely want to put something out there early. I mean, we were really close to that point, but then in August he broke the news to me, and he thought I was gonna be like super pissed, but I was like, no, this is perfect. Who cares? Do it. Because I met him in 2012, and he was not a game programmer, just like I was not a game artist. But we've come together with a common goal, and we push each other to learn more and more. So it's working out.
Can we expect a gameplay trailer coming soon?
Well, we were close again, but now we're at least a year off. I'm sorry, but the artwork is, thankfully, I can work on it separate. Like, I can always progress by myself without him holding me back, you know, that kind of thing. So every month I'm progressing. I can look back and be happy with my progress, and he's the same way. He's making tiny little games like, you know, Brick Out and Asteroids right now, because he's completely like reset his C+ programming, or C#. I think I don't even know what he's programming, but he's hammering away at it.
All right.
The more polished, the better.
And he's been looking. He's been talking about porting the game to PlayStation 1. Like,
that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I would love that.
The file size is something we've worried about, and we want it to be as small as possible for the customer, you know. So.
Yeah, I think that'd be really cool to see. I mean, I think there's still games coming out for the original Dreamcast, so it'd be interesting to see something come out for PlayStation 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sega sold Dreamcast dev kits, so basically you can make your game for free on Dreamcast.
So I'll just ask the last fan question before we end this interview. Will there be modifiers? And by modifiers, I mean like things to like maybe uh, to hinder the player or to maybe change the experience. Like say like you can only do a knife run only or something like that, or you can't pick up any weapons at all. You just have to just keep running and try not to take damage. Or like a one-hit kill death or something like that.
Or you mean like achievements or?
More like just hey, here's an unlock type of mode, like kind of like the kamikaze mode in the remake, except for now you can either enable or disable it.
Oh, okay.
Before your playthrough.
Yeah, I want to put like a separate mode in there, like mini games, that kind of thing, where you start in a completely different area of the game and you maybe work backwards, kind of like the hunk mode.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, for Survivor.
Yeah, but modifiers, yeah, I don't know. I
Possibility.
Speed running and replayability are my main concern when it comes to this game. So.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to be able to die and not be pissed off that you have to restart. That's kind of my goal. So.
I have one more question before we wrap up. You said you were implementing cutscenes. Have you guys thought about the voice acting stage?
Yeah, we have 2 voice actors that can handle most of the voices. We haven't gotten to any stage of recording though yet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right. Well, this has been a great interview. Thank you for coming on, Nick. It's been a pleasure to talk to you and learn more about Road Fever.
Road Fever.
And I mean, I'm sorry, Road Fever. I think I don't know why I was
saying too much.
I'm off somewhere else today. You can see as I've been jumbling up my words and thinking of other things.
Deja vu.
Yeah. So, Nick, for IOU, thank you for you came on here for IOU. We had an interview for this, and we'd like to thank you for coming on, and we'd be more than happy to have you back on to talk about it in the future.
Yeah, for sure. I'd love to come back with some gameplay someday. So.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty, so thank you all for watching, and we will be joining Renegade. Are we doing that discussion live?
Yes, we're doing that tonight.
Yeah, so we will be doing a discussion on Devil May Cry 2 remake, or a possible remake, or why we think it should be done. So you can see that later, and until then, we'll catch you all in the next podcast. Thank you for stopping by, and bye.
Bye.